Corsley Edwards. You know, went to college together, or didn't go to college together, but like pretty much like we were NEC, played Central Connecticut State. We played against each other when I was at Monmouth. Battled, just a great competitor, great athlete, ends up going on this long, incredible career, played in the NBA, played overseas, did so many things. Now currently playing in the big three, you know, still doing his thing, still staying in shape, which was like the craziest thing. That's the first thing I'll ask you is like, I hurt every single time I do anything in my life right now. So the fact that you're still going strong is just wild to me. How are you staying with it? How are you staying in shape at this age?
Just pretty much just staying after, like my legs that haven't given up on me, my back hasn't given up on me, with Howie Dickman practices. So, you know, I've been still going, bro. Like I've been rolling with everything. Got me a trainer. I just recovered from an ACL meniscus repair.
Okay.
And still going. So, you know, that was before the big three season this year. So I actually got a chance to play 3 games this year in the big three, just from the recovery. Yeah. Man, my trainer is phenomenal. You know, like Alex, my guy Alex Milton, he's a phenomenal guy. He works under the MedStar Health, but he's under the USA lacrosse.
Okay.
He's on the USA women's lacrosse team. So yeah.
That's what I feel like my next step, and I feel like there's this arrogance about like being an athlete. You're like, well, someone can't train me because I've done it by myself for so long. And then you're kind of like, I get to my age, I'm like, I need someone to help me because I don't have that same, like, it's just tough. Like, I was just like, I'm looking at myself, I'm like, okay, like, I still feel like I look better than, like some most 30-year-olds and stuff. And I'm like, I want to get like crazy, like Wolverine, crazy strong. So I'm like, I might have to go to the trainer route this summer.
Yeah, that you must get a trainer. I'm gonna say like, because it's like, I think because we were so prepared going through college and going through the trainings and all that stuff, like we had somebody saying, okay, you have this time schedule, this time period, you have to do this. Yeah. So like, I make sure I stick to all my time plans, make sure I'm on time, make sure I'm still doing that stuff. Cause I still got, what you call it, PTSD from Howie Dickman, just waking up like, oh, am I late? Am I late? Am I late? So, like, I still get that at 42. So it's tough, man.
So you've transitioned so many times. You've done like a few transitions from when you finished playing. You kind of went from playing and you went into a coaching in the NBA for player development. And then you kind of were coaching for a while. And then you shifted into this crazy cool venture that you're working on now, which we'll get into in a second. But like that venture where you kind of went into coaching, was that kind of an easy slide in? Because you were a player and it's kind of like you're still there, you're kind of like you're not practicing, you're not playing, but you're like right there in it.
Yeah, it was kind of easy because of a lot of resources, like going through the training camps and the NBA camps and stuff. Like I met all the general managers when I was coming out at the time because I didn't have an agent, so they was contacting me personally. So I built relationships with those guys, and my transition into coaching happened to be a guy, Tim Connolly. He's actually from Baltimore, Maryland as well. And he did his research with his brothers, Joe and Craig. They all in the NBA as well. And they was like, Corsley's a good guy. He's still playing, but if you can get him to switch over to from playing to come on the coaching, then, that would be a good choice for you guys for Denver. So I took the opportunity when Tim Connolly called me and said, Cors, would you like the Denver Nuggets, the player development guy? I said, of course. I said, anything back in the NBA, why not? I wasn't trying to go back over to Lebanon or, go to Serbia or, nothing wrong with those countries. But I get to stay home with my family because I've been doing it for so long, traveling overseas. So the transition going into coaching was really, really easy for me. And from that point, I made the player development coaching job. Then I went to Greensboro Swarm job, because one of the assistant coaches with the Denver Nuggets took the head coaching job there, and he knew that I was, we had already worked together. So it's like match made in heaven. And then I was like, hold on, man, I still got some stuff left in the tank. So I'm talking my crap against some of the players, coaching against the players. Like I even had like JJ Hickson, Kenneth Reed, they like, dude, like, and Will Barton, they like, dude, like, you can still play. Like, why are you coaching? And I'm like, I just wanted the opportunity. So the opportunity going to coaching is pretty easy. It was really easy.
So you did not have an agent this whole entire time throughout your career. How did that even, like, that's like crazy to be so successful and not do it with an agent, but you're like setting a trend, like, you know, agents, I'm not saying anything bad about agents, but I'm just saying, like, to do it without an agent, to show that like it can be done without an agent, have an incredible career without an agent is pretty sweet.
I learned mine from Ray Allen. You know, like Ray was coming over to, you know, Central Connecticut and working out when he was at UConn or when he was at Seattle Supersonics. He would come over and work out against us. And like I read an article on him, and he was just talking about how he didn't need an agent on certain situations. And I was like, okay, well, all I gotta do is really put together all my best contracts and do this and do that. Like I put it all together in my head and made it work for myself. You know, like I wouldn't advise it for a lot of different people because people are like, you know, they're like, I'm not sure, but I was a big guy, so it was probably a lot easier because we were big guys, you know.
Yeah.
So and then it was a lot easier to get a job at that time because it was a 3 out 2 in back then. You know, now it's 4 out 1 in. You know, so it's a big difference in the basketball world.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. Like it's just crazy to think that, you know, all of this and what a guy to get advice from. I mean, that's pretty cool. I think about, like, when you were saying that, I'm like, damn, I didn't know Ray Allen came by. Like, what, there was like a few guys who came by, but like no big name guys who would like come by in the off season. But just like to have a guy like Ray Allen, that would be incredible to pick his brain.
It was fabulous. Like, I think like I owe a lot to Ray and Howie Dickerman because, you know, Ray respected Howie Dickerman. And he gave back to the Central Connecticut guys as well because he did his thing in UConn and came over to Central. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So Kevin Ali, you got Kevin Ali as well, the head coach. Kevin Ali, he was good. Donyell Marshall, Donnie Marshall, all those guys would come back to Central because Howie would be like, oh yeah, we got an NBA player potentially Corsley. Yeah. And I think you guys need to lock into him. And that all started from there. So it was amazing.
That is great. It's always fun to hear those stories. I remember, you know, the Philly, like I'm like you know, right outside of Philadelphia. So when we had those workouts, like I remember tagging along with my brother and started going, and that's when I started getting into that like pro scene, the same thing, because, you know, you had like Iverson and you had like a lot of, you know, even like I remember when Lowry was like young, he would pop in, and it was just like, that was kind of towards the end of my pro career, but Lowry would come in, Lou Williams, like you had this like group of guys. I just remember just being like, holy shit, like that made me so much better when you had those top level guys hanging around you and you're kind of able to pick their brain. So that's an incredible, I think a lot of good, talented overseas and NBA guys had that experience when they had those guys that were able to pick their brains at a young age.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My computer is going nuts.
No, you're good.
I'm like, dude, hold on, bro. Like I told you I had a Zoom, a podcast too. I'm sorry, kid. Let me tell him real quick. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Like, listen, my editor, he'll come in and he'll clean this all up.
All right, hey Raj, can I call you right back? Because we were on the I had that podcast right now. I was letting you know that.
Oh, okay, because Andre is on the call. Because remember, you set up the meeting right now for 11:30.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Can you take that one? I'll be right on it after I finish the call.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Let me talk to Andre. Okay, thank you.
All right, Russ. Thank you. Yeah, that's my business partner. That's who helped me with this Loot Mogul. Like he's the genius behind all of it. My ideas, his computer artwork is what it is.
Well, it's so cool because like that's what I wanted to get into. Like you went from coaching now, and then you go into this incredible venture, Loot Mogul. You have this whole system set up. You're cutting edge NFTs, cybercurrency or cryptocurrency to kind of, you know, get guys like doing trivia. You're able to do trivia against guys that are playing, you know, like NBA players and influencers and stuff like that. That was like, it's such a crazy cool idea. And I was like, we were sitting there talking like in our meeting yesterday, and we're like, I was just like, listen, you know, my younger guys that are working, I'm just like, I need your guys' help. I was like, I don't understand NFTs enough. So I was like, you need to kind of explain some of this to me. Yeah. So take us through this whole entire process. Like first tell us what we're looking at, and then, you know, how even you got into this.
Yeah. So Loot Mogul we started about a year ago. My partner is from Malibu, California. And he reached out to me and said, "You're a professional athlete. I know you know a lot of people. Let's try to set something up." And it started with just trivia. And then I said, okay, I'll start this off. I gave 250 questions. I actually made up 250 questions, which I was part of one of the trivia questions, of course, being one of the NBA, who was the last pick in the 2002 draft. I went off and put myself in there. Yeah, so he was like, "Oh wow, that's amazing," and it went from the trivia, and then it went off to creating, and at that time, my partner was already into the crypto world. He didn't tell me about any of that. And then like my ideas had just expanded once I found out about crypto. I started looking into it for like 30 weeks. I started looking at it for like 30 weeks, 3 weeks. And then he came up to me and was like, "Hey man, is there anything else that we can describe on our store for the website?" Hold on. Wow. Hello, how you doing? But anyway, oh no. So he was talking to me and said, "Hey, like, you want to create on our store?" And I said, "I have basketball memorabilia and stuff like that." So I was telling him, maybe we could sell some of my friends' professional memorabilia on the website. And then he came to me and said, "Hey man, this new thing called NFTs is coming up. Learn how to create NFTs and how to mint the NFTs and do everything to make everything." So we was already on that platform because I was like, "Here's my trading cards." He said, "You have trading cards?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you can make digital trading cards. That's what NFTs are." And I said, "Wow." And I said, my brain just flipped the switch and said, "Okay, I have to do this. Like, this is something that I'm gonna dedicate myself to." And the opportunity came that Raj, my business partner, said, "Hey, send me all your digital artwork, anything that you personally have pictures for, and create." And I said, "Here you go." And I sent it over to him, and he's like, "You can make millions and millions of dollars off of this thing." So that's how it all started. Hello. Hello. Can y'all keep it down, please? Thank you.
It's like crazy because like I'm looking at your site, I'm like, okay, so you can create, so players can create NFTs. Yeah. Like they can go to you, create an NFT, and that NFT can be bought, by people using crypto or cybercurrency or cryptocurrency. I don't know, I can't get like I'm like cyber crypto. So like using those currencies, they'll be able to buy that NFT, and then it just like holds on and grows in value.
Grows in value. So every time someone buys one, it raises the value for each one.
Okay.
So every time, just like anything that you buy is limited edition. So for instance, on my website, I have 100 of my personal NFTs for sale. They're $100 each, and once that one is gone, it's minted like pretty much buying a house. Okay. So you can't just trade a house off, but yeah. You have the deed, you have the work, and you have the paperwork to saying that you own this property.
Yeah.
So, and then it goes on to an open sea where everyone else in the world can see, all over the world, from Europe to Asia and all these different types of countries, and people can buy. And every time you buy, you can, for instance, it's just almost like eBay.
Yeah.
Or YouTube, you get one hit, you go viral and you're blown up. You know what I'm saying? So we're creating all of the athletes, guys.
I know I one thing I was looking at, like the NBA Top Shot, I know that's like the big NFT thing where you guys have their highlights and they're buying highlights. And it was crazy because I was looking, and like the Kevin Durant where, they made that little, like the pass and then he threw it off the backboard and he dunked it. Yeah. I was like, that's like a crazy play, but someone could own that NFT. Like that's theirs. Like there's no one else can have it.
But like NBA might have made 10,000 of those perfect shots.
Yeah.
As Top Shot. They probably made 10,000 of them. I have one personally, because I'm into the NFT world. So I'm NBA website, and it goes for it can go from ranging from, depending on if I get number 35 of the NFT, because it's Kevin Durant's number.
Yeah.
You can sell it for whatever you want to sell it for, and most people are gonna get it because it's the collection.
Yeah.
This year it's the 75th anniversary of the NBA, so if you get the 75th card or version of that, you can sell it for that. So like it's also it's intriguing because you can get certain numbers. You get the number one overall. You have the number one made NFT, the first one they ever made of that caliber. So it's pretty much like collecting baseball cards,
Yeah.
and comic books and stuff like that, and getting collections and stuff. So it's pretty cool, man.
That's what like the one thing that helped me, because I know I loved baseball cards when I was a kid. You know, you collected all of them. So I'm sitting there and like half the time you almost got them just because you wanted. Like I like I love bourbon, so I have like a ton of bourbon, and I'll like go and find a bottle and be like, oh shit, there's like a bottle of Pappy, you know, even if like I'm just like, I'll probably never drink this one, but it's like you almost want that for the collection, and you're just like, you know, it's worth more to you. Yeah, that's what they were kind of breaking it down with me. They're like, that's like what an NFT is. It's like that you're trying to build this collection.
And I can take this video that we're doing, this podcast that we're doing, the highlights of it. If you put your editor together and put the highlights, we can create a whole NFT of Kevin Owens.
That would be awesome.
NFT. So we'll definitely do that for you. I'm gonna definitely do it for me. So yeah,
I love it. I love this. I love this. Is like I'm learning so much about this. I was talking with Nick Stauskas, who played with the Sixers while I was talking to Nick on the podcast like a few days ago. And we got in this whole conversation on like cryptocurrency and like Bitcoin and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm learning so much, I'm learning so much about just this new stuff. And not like I'm an old, I'm 41, but like
we're not old. We're not old.
Like but like I'm kind of like out of that new range. So I'm like, I feel like this is so helpful just in my life to have conversations with people, to be able to know what in the world is going on.
Yeah, man. This is a large world, because we're in 45 days, we're gonna be dropping on Sandbox, the metaverse.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like we
hear a little bit. Yeah,
yeah, we have our own property. We are the only people who have a basketball space on the metaverse right now.
Wow, that's huge. That's like big time.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, where do you see like NFT thriving in sports? Like it's really starting to come up, and you hear more about it. Do you see this just continuing to thrive as it goes?
Oh, for sure. Because like someone makes a spectacular play here and there, like, and everyone catches it. Like you wait for ESPN for the highlights of the night. So pretty much you can buy those highlights even before it comes out on ESPN.
Wow.
It depends on how fast they are able to mint these NFTs and stuff.
That's wild. Yeah. It is really, like, I know people who are just like NFTs, like they're not going to last, like they're not, I don't know what they are. So I feel like is that like a common thing that you get? Like these people are like, they don't have any real value. This is not going to last. Because like, if people don't understand it, I think that's what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Like, if you don't know anything about it, of course you like, oh well, but once you find out how lucrative it is, or how inspiring it is, because we have a lot of different projects going on with the youth. We're giving back to the youth from our programs, like for NFTs. So kids are going to be able to buy their own personal NFTs as far as their jerseys and stuff when they get into high school and stuff like that. And when they get on the metaverse, they're going to be able to have their own stuff where people can buy their favorite players. So like you see a young top NBA prospect out of high school right now, like a Mikey Williams.
Yeah.
He has his outfits on, and you're like, okay, I want his jersey. We're going to make 20 of his jerseys, and that's it out of the whole entire world. So if he becomes a superstar like a Ja Morant or, a Derrick Rose or some sort, his NFTs are going to keep going up.
Okay.
So you'll be able to put a price tag on all of that. It's just like pretty much, baseball and basketball cards and all that type of stuff. Like they don't really have any value. It's just who's on the card. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the actual card itself, but like the actual, what's the image is the huge thing. It's so funny just to think like, if you have like someone could buy an NFT of me and like be like, I'm gonna, use like Doggy Coin or Doggy and be like, I'm gonna buy this, and they'll buy it for, like whatever. And then Doggy Coin skyrockets and my fucking card drops. They're like, God damn it. Like, why would I do that? Why would I buy a Kevin Owens? Like, what a terrible investment.
It depends on what platform. So like, I'm gonna say this. I'm on one of the highest platforms that you possibly can be in. Like a lot of guys are creating platforms. It's called blockchains.
Mm-hmm.
My blockchain is ran off of Polygon, Matic. If you look on the website on the crypto.com, you look at Matic, you can see the, fluctuation of the, because the market has been crashing so far and all that type of stuff. But if you see, I'm on the top one where Jonty, where we actually have conversations with all the time because he's engaged with my company. It's just pretty much like it's set, like he's going to keep promoting. Matic will never leave off of the NASDAQ or whatever it is, the cryptocurrency. Like crypto.com is perfect because the Staples Center just been named crypto.com.
Yeah.
So like someone will see Polygon, they'll understand what Matic is, and they'll be like, okay, now we're putting 2 and 2 together. It's real simple.
Yeah.
It might be one of the easiest things you possibly can learn how to do. If you love collections, as I see you have a collection behind you. Yeah. So those can be, you take a picture of them on yourself. Like, okay, you do like a little story with them, boom, 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 create an NFT and put it on the Polygon under our company, and you can do whatever you like with them. People will be like, okay, Kevin Owens, overseas famous, you can do that. Your logo, you can do everything, all NFTs, everything you can do NFT. It's creating a whole new universe on the digital world.
Yeah. It is really, and people are, this is huge. Like I have collections, like I have baseball cards collections. Like people have collections of shoes, Jordans, like, there's just, everyone wants to collect something. Like there's not many people, who are like, oh, I just don't want to, like everyone has their own collection. So to have that all digitalized is just such an incredible.
That's what keeps the value, because everyone has a collection of something.
Yeah. People always want that.
Starting all over in the metaverse, because everyone's stuck in the house. A lot of people stuck in the house. A lot of people scared to come out the house. That type of stuff. So you got to create something.
Yeah, seriously. So let's go into your, we'll talk in a little bit like your overseas career. You first were in the NBA, then you kind of went into the CBA, which was like the G League. The CBA and G League back then were like the same thing. It was just what you went to. Because I know the CBA was more, the D League was like there were only these teams and they were only in the Southeast. And then the CBA though was you could bounce around to like more localized teams. Mm-hmm. And you kind of went and got drafted in the NBA, went to the CBA, had a great career, ended up back in the NBA. What was that like? I know how exciting it is, like when you hear any mention of the NBA when you're like playing in those levels close. So like, what was that first experience when the kind of you were like, okay, like hopping in with the Hornets? Well, like, oh my God, I'm going, like, here it is, like this shit's happening.
So it started the draft night. I kind of like gave up on it. I was like, shoot, like I said, man, I did what I did. Everyone was like, oh yeah, he's supposed to do that in that league and da. And like, I just like, dang, like the NBA, I've never been cut from anything. You know what I mean? And I was like, shoot, how is this not working for me? Like I did everything. Every coach gave me much respect because like I said, I was my own agent. So they could only talk to me. It wasn't no one else they could talk to. Like I knew every word, I was the fly on the wall in every conversation because I had to be that person.
Yeah.
But when they called me on that day in 2002, Sacramento called me, it was like, wow, like this is really happening, And I said, a lot of people, I was one of only 58 people out of this whole 2002 draft to be drafted, and I was the last pick. So I was like, nobody's coming after me. It's a whole 40, it was a whole 57 before me. But at the end of the day, I was like, I made it. And then, I got the opportunity to go to Sacramento training camp, signed a 2+2. Didn't make the team from the beginning, got let go, went to Yakima, Washington, where Bill Bano was the coach. I think he's coaching for someone right now in the NBA. And he worked me out. He got me back in tip-top shape because I didn't take it serious. Like I didn't know that, the NBA was as caliber as it was. When I got there, I put on probably 30 pounds over the summertime after the draft. I said, well, isn't somebody supposed to call me? No, but nobody taught me the ropes of what to do. And I was like, shoot, like, what am I to do? My big brother, Charles Smith, Harlem Globetrotter, he worked me out 1 week before we go to training camp. It's like, yo, like, you're not in shape, bro. I said, I didn't know. I thought I'd get in shape when I get there, like,
Yeah,
college,
like college. That's what you did in college, yeah.
That's what I did in college. So I said, I can go out here and bust somebody behind. I can bust their ass easy,
Yeah.
but I'm just bigger than I'm supposed to be. And then, yeah, like I went to Yakima, Washington with Bill Baino, worked out there, me, Paul McPherson, Tyson Wheeler, some really, really good players was there in Yakima. And Bill Baino said, I'm gonna get you back in the NBA. He said, you have the talent, you just have to get in shape. Mm-hmm. And he worked me. We did some workouts and all that stuff. For some reason, they let me go in Yakima and Sioux Falls. Well, they traded me from Yakima, Washington to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I played with the likes of Stacey King was my head coach, Mario Bennett, Doug Overton, Randy Livingston, like all NBA veterans, like who's been in the NBA before. So, but I was the only rookie on the team. And I seen the work that you had to put in from learning through the experience of my veterans I had before me. And like those guys really sat me down. It's like, yo, like you really can do this. Like you really can be in this position better than us.
Yeah.
And like I had them people telling me in my mind, like, yo, you really need to concentrate on what you're doing. Stop eating everything. Stop eating chicken wings. Stop going to eat steak dinners and, just eating potato chips and sodas and all that stuff. The same problem I had when I went to college. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like it reached out to me and told me to say, Corsley, you got to break down and you have an opportunity to get back into the NBA. Because after Sacramento's training camp, Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Hideo Tokalu, Peja Stojakovic, Vlade Divac, Keon Clark, Scott Pollard, Bobby Jackson, Mateen Cleaves. And Mateen Cleaves is the only reason why I'm still playing today.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the only reason because like when they let me go in Sacramento, it was like, what am I to do? I didn't have that guidance. I didn't have the agents. You know what I mean? Like I was out there running around with my shoes off, running on hot rocks. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I was like, oh shoot, what am I to do? And Mateen Cleaves broke it down. I walked around Arco Arena 3 times after they let me go. Elston Turner was the coach of Sacramento and said, Corsley, we're on our way to LA. Why you ain't on the plane? He didn't even know that they let me go. So that's how good I was doing. Like that's how I was. The assistant coach even called me and say, yo, where you at? Like the plane, we're about to leave, blah, blah, blah. And Mateen Cleaves was injured at the time. He said, yo, do not get upset. Do not quit. You did what you're supposed to do. Keep fighting. Don't go home and feel sorry for yourself. Go home and keep getting better and better and better. And now he's a motivational speaker making a lot of money per year. You know what I mean? So he was the perfect person for me at that time. So I would say it's all the right timing. Got the opportunity to go back. That time was, in 2004. Yeah. That was the year my father passed. Me and my father made a deal. I had got a deal to go over to Korea for about $850. Okay. Like $850,000. Yeah. And my father said, hey, you want to go back to the NBA or you want to take the money? And I said, of course, NBA. Like you said, you hear the NBA logo. It's like, I got to do this. So we went, he's like, I promise you in 4 games, you'll be able to be back in the NBA. And I was like, man, whatever. Like, how you know this, whatever. And on the 4th game, I'm going into it. My mother called me, tells me to come home. Father in the hospital. They resuscitated him, brought him back, and he didn't have his brain, but he was like, he looked at me and passed away. Like I was in the room when he passed away. And at 3:00, that's the time he passed away. And at 3:05, Alan Bristow of the New Orleans Hornets called me and said, yo, like I'm Alan Bristow from New Orleans Hornets. We would like to sign you to an extension deal because of someone was hurt or whatever. So I signed a real deal, not just a 10-day. Yeah. Like I signed a real contract. So I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. I said, well, can I get back to you? Like I'm walking out of the room from my father just passing, walking down the hallway, and my mom was like, what's going on? I said, I'm in, like, it's like bittersweet right now. I said, my father made the deal with me. It happened. He passed away, and I'm back into the NBA. So it was like, oh man, it was like one of those weird feelings. So
That has to be like the I'm just thinking like just how wild. I mean, you like the emotions that you're kind of feeling on top of the fact that you're like, holy shit, like that was my fourth game, and now this happens, and then this, like, it's like so.
It was wild. Like it was one of those Wayne's World.
That is crazy. That's like such an incredible story though. Like that's like the kind of shit that like when people hear that, like it's just, these are the things that like it just makes it fun as a to talk basketball, because there's so many crazy stories like that. And that's just incredible, the fact that you know that all happened at that time, and what a horrible experience. And then it's like you have this like new thing, and you can kind of almost like, if there's like closure, I think is such a huge thing with death, and almost like that's like almost like instant closure. Like you're just kind of like, holy shit, like that just happened, but this just happened. Like, was this meant to be? Like, it makes you almost feel, you're like, okay, shit was supposed to happen this way.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like all the timing, like I'm gonna tell you this, like my whole career, a lot of great timing has happened for me. You know, like walking into my Loot Mogul business, walking into the NBA, walking into Central Connecticut State, being able to play against you a few times, you know, like everything, you know, is all walking in the right place. Like I got a chance to play for Fenerbahce in Turkey, where Hidayat Turkoglu, which is my good friend, because we played at Sacramento.
Oh, wow.
He looked out for me when I was in Turkey as well.
That's huge.
So it's like everything for me in my career has always been on the right time and the right path. Like I don't take anything for granted. Like everything that happens, I say, okay, well, I guess it's supposed to happen. That's the way my life been going anyway. So I guess that's the way it's supposed to happen.
Well, you talked about like I think the most toughest thing mentally I remember feeling is like you just like me, like we went through high school and you go through college and like you're the shit, and like you're never getting cut, you're never getting stopped, like you're always the best. And then you get into the pros and you're like, that ego kind of carries over, and you're like, okay, oh shit, like I made this team, like now I'm going to make the next team and the next team. And then you're going through and it's like someone just comes up and be like, oh, you're cut. And like you're just kind of like, you know, in training camp, you're kind of like, what the fuck? Like, but I like, I've never had this happen to me before.
Like, I was kicking ass, and why are you cutting me?
Yeah,
like,
you're pissed. And you don't know how to handle, because it's never happened to you before. So it's like 5 years into your professional career and you're getting cut for the first time, and you're like, fuck that. Like, do you know who I am? And they're like, yeah, but do you know who that guy is? And you're like, oh,
that guy, you're paying him $80 million. Like, dude, like you're getting $1,080,000 and he's bringing us to the finals of the Western Conference. Yeah, it's a big difference. But I think, like, going forward, Kev, like the fact that guys like myself, and they don't really have or understand about that, like that needs to be an awareness. You know what I mean? No one knew that, okay, you would make it first and foremost. I make it, and then somebody say, oh yeah, we're gonna snatch that from you. You know what I mean? Like, but it was all for whatever reason it is. I get to use that labeling of NBA behind my name, so it's a great thing, you know.
It is a great thing. It's like incredible, and it was fun. I remember when I was playing, you know, I was kind of playing at that same time, and like even that 2003 was my senior year. You're kind of playing, and I remember hearing these things, and then like when I started in the G League, like I hear, and I'm like, this is. It was like one of those things. You're just like, I remember thinking when you went to New Orleans, when you went to New Orleans, I was in the G League, like, you know, in the early stages of. But I remember being like thinking like, oh shit, like they take guys from smaller schools. Like it was, you get this mindset because you're playing with all guys who are like Duke and everything, and I'm just, as a Monmouth, you're just like, oh, I made the team, but that's probably my highest level because I went to Monmouth and they went to Duke. And then it was like, I remember seeing that and being like, oh shit, we can do this. Like that was like my first, like, I remember just being like that. It put into perspective why I was here. And I always, like, I was like, it was funny when you reached out, like you said, everything happens. Because I remember thinking about that when I was writing my book. I remember thinking about like, shit, I remember like seeing you have that success and be like, oh, this is awesome. Like this can happen. And I remember thinking it was, so it's like crazy that I was able to tell you it face to face, or at least virtually. It's fucking next best thing right now.
I think I reached out to you because I was like, I said, that's K. Owens? I said, yeah. I said, you was on a highlight. And I was like, that's K. Owens from Mama? I remember him. Yes. He'll be in here in a minute. Like, I was like, it made me feel like, okay. You know, because I was like, I was in there with Duke players, Michigan players, Michigan State players, you know, top European players, didn't know where they, you know, I would say I'm coming from little old Central Connecticut State, the Northeast Conference. Like, how am I here? And now I'm seeing my guys from same conference. When I saw you in the G League, when you got drafted in the G League, I remember it. I was like this. I said, KO, yes, he gonna get it here. Like I didn't feel alone anymore. Like it gave me a sense of like it's like okay, cool.
Yeah. It really is.
Now the top players are coming from the mid-major schools. Like
I think the same thing. Like, and you see, it was funny because I was even like with football. We were talking about football, and like you're kind of looking. You're just like, oh, where did this like these quarterbacks? And they're coming. They're just like, oh, where did he play? And like Alabama, and like none of those guys ever. It's always the Brady's Michigan. Like they always went to like some smaller school where they just fucking threw every single time, and they're like, we're not running a system. Like I'm going to college to throw every time, and I'm going to be an NFL quarterback.
Exactly. But
so your biggest, like, you went overseas, like, we'll because I want to keep you too long, but like let's go into like one overseas question, like your craziest experience. Like what place do you think that you could be like that was the fondest memory you had overseas?
Spain.
Yeah,
ACB Spain. I was in Granada, Spain, so I had history of Alhambra, where I think you might have heard Alhambra beer or the mountains and all that stuff. And then one of the 7 wonders of the world is in Granada, Spain. And didn't know, like riding around Granada, Spain, like, okay, one of the 7 wonders of the world is here. So Spain was probably because Granada had like a town and then they had a mountain. So like you could, hang around in town. So I had 2 in 1. That was probably my best place of experience because I was able to go up to the mountains and, look at the sky and breathe the fresh air and then sit down in town and be in regular, city life living.
Yeah.
So it was something different. Yeah, that was probably one of my best experiences as far as Spain. Plus my son was conceived there. So
nice.
That was a great thing. Yeah, so that was one of the best feelings. Like Spain was definitely one of my top places ever. Yeah, but fun, Dubai.
Yeah. Dubai, yeah, I've heard a lot about Dubai being like just like that's a good place to go, especially as a basketball player. Like it's a fun place to go.
They just offered me a job this year to go to Dubai.
No shit, that's crazy.
I said I'll take it. Look, but I was like, I'm not going over the water. Not doing the COVID era. Nah, I appreciate it.
Oh, it's hell. Like I talked to some overseas guys, and they're telling me these stories, and I'm like, man, like of all the shit we had to deal with overseas and like playing. Like, I can't believe that you're dealing with even this. Like, that sucks because it's just, you can't, like, I remember you used to be able to go home here and there. Like, you'd be like, all right, Christmas time, like, I'm going to go home for like a week. And they're like, nope, like, I'm going for 10 months. Like, I can see you.
You're stuck.
Yeah, nothing you can do about it.
Hope you can get back in the country. Look,
exactly. It's crazy. And then and then the worst thing is, like, you get released. Like, I know a guy who got released and it's like, he's dealing with all kinds of shit, just getting back in the country. He's like, I already feel like shit. Like life's already sucks. And now I can't even get in my home. It sucks.
Yeah, man. But overseas, bro, like, I'm going to say 14 different countries I played in, like including the NBA and just all those different experiences of, like, I still feel sometimes like I hear music when I'm working out. Like, I'm like, okay, I remember that from overseas, like it puts me back in that mode. So my culture and different cultures of learning was extraordinary because I lived in 14 different countries and I paid attention to where I was and knew my surroundings. I learned a little bit of language from every place I went. So with 14 different countries, I learned 14 different languages.
Yeah.
A little bit, so yeah.
It's great. Yeah, like I think the same thing. That song Low comes on and like honestly it like brings me back to the G League. Like the dancers are going on the floor and like the NBA G League timeouts, you're kind of like they're like TV timeouts, so they're like long as shit. Your coach talks to you for a second and wanders off and talks to the other coaches and you're just sitting there watching the dancers and stuff. That song comes on every single time. I'm like right back into playing mode.
Semi-pro. Look, semi-pro.
Yeah.
Semi-pro. I'm
like, start stretching. I'm like, let's go.
Say, all right, TV timeout 3 minutes. What you mean 3 minutes? It's time to go to 30 seconds. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah. You always see videos. You always see videos like people fucking around with like the half court shot, like players. And I'm like, because they're just sitting, especially if you're out of the game in a timeout. You're just like, all right. Like, I'm gonna go walk in the court and mess with these people. It's like,
the funny thing now is that they actually let these dudes hold, like, they be playing with a basketball on the sideline. Like, I see Dwight Howard, he's playing with a basketball, like while the game is going on. Like, what are you doing with a basketball? Like, it'd be okay, one ball on the floor, all the balls are set to the back. That's it. Like, no more ball. Like, put them away.
Yeah, doing drills and stuff. It's just like, it's a different. Everyone, I mean, it's just long. Like an NBA game, like it's just like goes from like high school. Like I help out and coach at a high school now, and it's like 8-minute quarters. And I'm like, honestly, I'll be like, what time will we be back? And I'll look at my watch and be like, probably like an hour and a half, like from like when I leave the house to when the game's over. And I'm like, it's crazy. The NBA game's like 2.5 hours. It's crazy. Well, of course, this has been fucking awesome. Like hearing about your business, hearing about talking, catching up, talking shop has been incredible. We will have you. We have to have you. You know, stay in touch. Have you back on the show because this is cool, especially when you're like when you blow up and you're like this huge, you know, huge
we're gonna
NFT.
play 45 days. Look, we're gonna play in 45 days. We're blowing up.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So this is when that happens. And you're fucking going to space with like Jeff whatever and stuff like that. I'm just gonna be like, that's what I'm gonna be like. Hey man, you know what are you doing?
I appreciate it, KO, for sure, man. Like, and anything you need from me, bro. Like I said, send me your overseas famous.
Yeah.
And I can create an NFT for you. We get you all signed up. So all your promotions that you go on, and let them know about the NFTs. If you have to go on any questions with anybody else, NFTs, say I'm already in tune with it.
I love it. Awesome. This has been great, Corsley. It was great talking to you. Corsley Edwards, NBA, everything, and NFT billionaire. Thank you so much.
Thanks, KO.